If you like what you see, why don't you think about subscribing? And make sure to check out my channel for videos just like this. What's going on, people? It's your boy MrBucketlist, and today I want to do a different video. I wanted to go ahead and give you all my thoughts on theme parks, basically then and now, as far as coronavirus and the COVID-19 pandemic. So for this particular park, I actually went to both Seaworld and Busch Gardens here in Florida. So first, let me go ahead and go through all the different changes that they made, at least that I saw, as far as returning to the theme parks, and then I'll give you all my kind of thoughts on going forward. Alright, so the first thing that you'll notice is you have to wear a mask at both the parks and even at Universal Studios. So masks are required. They will not let you in without a mask, and at least at Busch Gardens you had to buy a mask, and the same thing at SeaWorld. So you have to wear a mask throughout the park, even on the rides. So funny story, when I was trying to pick up my pictures for one of the rides I was on, I was fine. I had my mask on the whole time, but the guy behind the counter told me, he was like, I have to cut out the girls behind you because they didn't have masks on, and we're not releasing pictures to people that didn't have their mask on, so just keep that in mind. Another thing is your temperature has to be at least under 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius, so definitely keep that in mind. You don't want to go there with a fever because they will not let you in. They check you literally before you even scan your ticket to get in the park. Now, for most parks, and I think this is actually all the parks around the nation, you do have to do reservations, but as far as me, I've done a reservation every time. No one's actually asked for it, so I'm not really sure if it's because the demand's not that high or what, but just keep that in mind. You have to do reservations to actually supposedly go into the park. Now, for me, when I first got there, as you all know, for the most part, I like to go single as a solo rider because I just like to enjoy the park and record on my own without really being pestered. And so I was a little bit worried because I know certain parks are shutting down single rider lines. SeaWorld and Busch Gardens doesn't have that, so I didn't really care about it. But when I got there, the way single riders work is they're going to give you either a full row to yourself, or they're going to have about 2 to 3 seats basically apart from you. So either way, you won't have somebody shoulder to shoulder with you, which to me is amazing. So again, another tip, if you're a single rider, you may have a row to yourself. Now for me, on a lot of the rides I literally had a whole entire cart to myself. What they were doing, at least at Busch Gardens, was they were doing each and every other row. Basically, that's how they would fill it. And so I would have a whole row to myself. No one's behind me. No one's in front of me. Sometimes that would end up being the entire cart. So it was actually really cool, really nice. I could truly just enjoy being on the roller coaster without hearing people being stupid over whatever the case may be. Alright, so now, I kind of gave you all the general rules. The only time that you can really take off your mask is, I believe, if you're in the smoking area, or of course if you're eating. But as far as that, when you're walking around the park, when you're on the rides, you have to have a mask on. They have these different little hand sanitizer pumps all over the place, which is really nice. At Busch Gardens, they had the hand sanitizers, and they also had these right here. They're little like pump stations where they literally have soap and water, so that was actually really cool. And those, for the most part, everybody was doing their job, trying to keep their hands clean, so that was really nice. Now, at Busch Gardens and both SeaWorld, for whatever reason, I believe they ended the contract with the animal people that they had, so no shows whatsoever were going on as far as like the dogs and the cats, those type of shows. Now, at SeaWorld, they did have, of course, the whale and dolphin shows, but the Pets Ahoy show, that was done, and then at Busch Gardens, they just didn't have anything. The only show they had was Little Elmo show, and I don't have any kids, so I didn't go to that area. So before I actually get into my actual thoughts, I just want to say, not too much has changed terribly. They just pretty much shut down certain things, and they have hand sanitizer pumps all around, and it is limited capacity, but it's not like a huge overhaul where, oh my goodness, when you go back, it's going to be so different. It's just different measures are taken in place to keep people supposedly clean and spaced out from each other. So, I think it's a decent effort. I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that, but at the same time, when I get into my thoughts about it, you'll understand why I say it's decent and not perfect, because you can easily still get coronavirus by going to a theme park. So let me go ahead and head into that. Alright, so I will tell you all right now, I felt a lot safer at Busch Gardens versus at SeaWorld. I don't know if it was the crowd that was there or what, But at Busch Gardens, I mean, I'll go ahead and put some clips in, but there was some really open and empty spaces where, I mean, you could literally, it was easy to stay 6 feet away from people, and people were all on your back. And even on the rides, I mean, the rides are so empty, and I went on the Sunday. The rides are so empty that, I mean, even though they had social distancing, it would have happened anyway because not many people were riding the rides. So people were really respectful, respecting the rule. They were standing on little stickers on the bottom of the floors that tell you where to stand at, the 6 feet apart. They were doing the best they could. So I felt really comfortable. There was only one time period when I was riding Montu, and there were some younger people, I would say maybe about 19, 20, 21, who were so excited to get on the ride, they literally just kept almost getting on my back, and I had to keep telling them, yo, back up. And they spoke Spanish, so it was kind of hard, but I had to put my hands out like, stay back, like you all are not following the rules. But to the flip side, when I went to Seaworld, it was a completely different story. I mean, just huge crowds everywhere, and people were just I didn't feel like recording because I was so uncomfortable. I was kind of worried about my own safety, but there was a lot of people just not social distancing. And even with the shows, I took this picture to send to my friend, but people literally just had that mask completely off because they didn't want to wear them. And so it's like, I mean, between all the crowds and people not really understanding how to wear your mask and things like that, and not to mention, as of the date of recording this video, Florida has now hit 10,000 cases per day of COVID. So you can kind of see why this is happening because of things like this. And so, in my honest opinion, I mean, they both, could use some work, but definitely at SeaWorld. And of course, SeaWorld is in Central Florida over there in Orlando. So many more tourists in Orlando versus Tampa, so that makes more sense. In my honest opinion, I do believe we're going to be in another shutdown fairly soon because of 10,000 cases per day. I mean, back when we went in the shutdown, we were barely over 1,000 per day, so it only makes sense. But like I said, my summary is just that's an issue. So as far as me, actually going back to a theme park, I don't really know because I don't really want to get corona. I'm not one of these people that's all scared and thinks it's just the end of the world. But at the same time, I don't want to deal with it if I don't have to. And going to a theme park is a choice. It's not like mandatory unless you work there. So between the masks being really, really hot when you are walking around and breathing and stuff like that, and people just not generally following the rules, for me, I don't know. It's kind of iffy, kind of risky to go right now. Not to mention, I've been there so many times. I'm not really seeing nothing new. And a lot of the shows I used to go to cool down, they're not really playing anymore. So I have my reasons of why not to go. But at the same time, for anybody that's thinking about going and actually having a family vacation sometime soon, just kind of think about that. Theme parks are shutting down early. Now they're shutting down at 6. And this is summertime when they usually shut down around 9. So they shut down around 6. A lot of the shows aren't necessarily playing because of whatever's going on. A lot of the rides are also temporarily down. So that's another thing to think about as well. And then, of course, the biggest reason, the potential risk of getting COVID and also having a quarantine if you come down here to Florida. So like I said, just keep that in mind. This is not really going to be one of those videos saying go there or don't. I'm just kind of giving you all my thoughts on it. But definitely, like I said, check out some more videos on my channel. Hopefully it helps you if you do want to go in the future. Just seeing how the park is when it usually functions. It'll be a nice little video to watch. So I'll leave some links here and we'll just kind of go from there. It's your boy, Mr. Bucketlist. Peace out.